Last 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Please slowly take your hands and put it on your eyes, masters. And gently, whenever you're ready, slowly open your eyes and look at your palms. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, masters. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity. Can you all hear me okay? Can anyone talk? Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Today, so first of all, thank you very much. We've had a little bit of a break on the Friday session, so we are resuming it today with a good topic. So I'm going to talk about book club, right? Today's topic is a little different than the truth itself, but how do you connect truth when you are in full association on a club, or you're doing any kind of a group activities? How do you bring truth into the mix of it? Whenever we are doing a lot of so in our society, there are a lot of book clubs, there are a lot of book reading satsangs. There are also where you are actually you are reading it and others are listening to you, or you are going through an audio reading of a book, right? A lot of different ways we try to collaborate and get knowledge, right? So today we will briefly focus, I'm not going to go too deep on it, but we will briefly focus on why book clubs often doesn't give a full satisfaction or a deep essence of what we are. So predominantly, why do we go to book clubs? Anyone?
So basically, not a spiritual I'm saying, but in general, people go for book clubs for networking purpose, and then connect with the book. So different ways of connecting.
So you're right? I mean, some of those things are right. Basically, analyzing your ideas, sharing your opinions, comparing your interpretations, right? A lot of the conversations that happen in a book club are mostly so at the mental space, right? Book clubs operate at mental discussions. But if you really look at the true connection with a book, right? How does a true connection, right? Especially a spiritual connection or a profound inner connection, how does that come? That comes from the experience, right? Experiencing the message within that book, whatever maybe that book's content is, or author is trying to put it out there, right? If you are able to connect to that truth, then you have a real sense of it, right? So when the discussions happen in the mental space, right, there is no opportunity for deeper vibrations, right? The author's consciousness, whatever that author's hidden message, right, why he wrote that book, or what is the purpose of that book, right, that never truly enters the heart. So what happens? This becomes a more like a mental monologue, right? You are actually, like for example, if you are reading Bhagavad Gita and debating on Arjuna's dilemma, right? Engaging, he engages with his mind and tries to analyze what Krishna was talking, right? In a typical sense, that is not what Krishna's message is. Krishna's message, if you want to understand, and meditate on Krishna's words, right? You are not the doer, transform from the being, these things are very have a very profound impact in a way how you look at things. So what happens most of the time, the book clubs, when you are sitting with the group and when you are resonating at a mental space, you usually stop at that first level. You're not going to the next level. So what happens is whatever you are trying to get at, you are not fully there yet, right? And what also happens is there is a bit of a lack of your inner silence and the reflection towards it, right? So how does my inner silence reflect is based upon the great work that's been done, whatever is revealed in that book, that comes out not in discussion, between the discussions when there is silence, right? So what happens when you are sitting in a group and you are trying to have one opinion after another, leaving no space for any observation, absorption? Whether you're not observing, you're not absorbing. So without that silence, within that within that space, there is no internal echo of your truth. All you have is that noise coming in, going out, coming in, going out, everyone speaking at that first level, right? Higher level, higher level, higher level, the mental space itself. Then where do I get that, right? The real essence emerges when you slowly start to look at the book, and then and then the reader who is actually reading it, the leader or the reader who is reading that book, takes pauses, takes breaths, right? Let the words that you are talking, the phases that you are speaking, you are dissolving into that awareness. This is the real sense. That's why what happens, as much as you kind of embrace the concept of book club, but the way it should run is you have to have that space, you have to have those pauses, you have to make sure that our words are dissolved into that awareness. And if you don't have that, right, then it becomes only a mental chanting. And then you also see very often that there are different levels of energies among readers. Everyone does not have the same amount of energy, right? Each person reads at his own pace, at his own state of consciousness, right? If the group is not energetically aligned, right? If the group is not energetically aligned, you are like, it's like you don't have that curiosity or you don't have the devotion. Then this becomes more like, a object of ego coming out, right? You're just reading for sake of reading, or you're representing for sake of representing, or you want to show that, okay, I know about this, right? I have already read about it. The vibrations within that space becomes more scattered. So there is no opportunity for you to have the true essence, right? How do I get the true essence from the reader or from the book? Is when you are tuned to the same frequency, as you are doing in meditation, as you are doing in a satsang, as you are doing in a group energy work. If you are able to bring that kind of attunement to that frequency, then you see the difference, the different energy, right? Otherwise what happens, everyone is at a different wavelength, and in trying to bring all of them into that synchronized wavelength will become a challenge. And most of the time when you are holding the book, you are holding the book as an information. Every one of us, right? Typically when I hold a book, so I say I am reading, okay, Yogi, like, uh, the power of now, right? Let's take, Eckhart Tolle. I'm treating this as information, not a transformation. Am I reading? So first of all, holding that book, you have to see whether Am I here to learn and discuss this, or am I here to awaken from this? You're supposed to awaken, right? By holding that book, Power of Now, I am supposed to awaken myself. But I am not awakening. What I am doing is I am just discussing, I am just learning. So it is not transformation, it is only information. If I am not awakening from that book, how can there be a shift of consciousness? All I have is an expansion of intellect. That's it. There will be a little bit of expansion. There will be a little bit of mental space, right, where you are able to intellectually get more insights into how it is done and all. It is more like expert. It is like it's an academic interest. The intent is academic. When the intent is academic, there is no experience, there is no satisfaction, right? And the depth of satisfaction that you're looking within that subject, or that energy that you're trying to get in, becomes very, very partial. So that's why the book always should be treated as transformation. Any book that you hold on to, when you are reading it, you have to awaken from that book. That means you have to connect to the energy of that book. And and absolutely, right, we have to connect to author's consciousness, because when the author is writing that book, he pours his state of being into that book, right? Connecting to author means you're tuning into that state, that feeling of that awareness, that vibration, that love, that expression of words, that frequency. All of those things happen when you are connected to the author's consciousness. For that to happen, we require meditation. You require reverence, you require stillness, right? A typical club settings, very rarely provide that kind of environment. How many times we are meditating between, how many times you are taking pauses, how many times you are going into silence, how many times you are observing it and absorbing it. And the most important is the speed in which we do this. I have 30 minutes to close out this session. I need to read. You follow a calendar schedule. Let's finish it by next 2 weeks. We got to complete this whole thing by next 2 weeks. Truth will never unfold by time. Time is illusion. The depth of truth only unfolds in its own pace, in its own rhythm. Rushing through them, we will break the flow of realization, right? And the genuine message that you want to deliver is lost. And finally, if you start to really look at the way you want to bring some structure, you have to integrate with that book. You have to have that wisdom, right? I'm reading a book, but I'm not living that book. You're just creating some imbalance, right? Unless every member practices what they are reading, whether through meditation or your own contemplation, or with daily awareness, or some kind of satisfaction that you're bringing into it. Otherwise, this becomes like a mental chanting. This has no, it will no longer help serve the purpose. All it does is satisfy our ego, that I have read this book. I've completed. You can go check mark it, saying that I completed Power of Now. I completed so and so book. You know, soul learning. Any book you take. I just gave Power of Now is an example, right? And then you say, you tick mark that book and say, I'm done. Now what happens? Your mind is fixated to the fact that you have already read this book, so it will never allow you to go back and read it or listen to it again. That's the most dangerous thing, right? So if it becomes a mental engagement, any book club that gives us a mental engagement and it's missing the true satisfaction, right? How does my true satisfaction come is, only when my heart expands, right? When there is energy, when there is consciousness involved, that is when the true expansion happens. Connection to that book, connecting to that subject, connecting to that author's message, from reading, from being, right? We have to move from the space of intellect, which is the factor that you start off, when you start a book, you start in the intellectual capacity, but slowly you have to come to that inner stillness. That is the very essence of the book, why we are reading the book. Every book has got that energy, every book has got that consciousness, every author gives that message. That's why, if you look at it, great masters, they don't bring people to come and talk about a book. They talk about the essence of the book to show why this is important, to motivate us, to inspire us, to give us that right wisdom. They talk about that, hey, this is a good book for you to read at your own pace. Because they know that by them reading that book, you will not gonna observe or absorb things. It won't happen that way. You have to read it at your own pace. So if I have to get in a way, if I have to make sure that I'm doing a satsang, I'm doing a meditation, a book satsang, right? A online book club, right? Traditional book club. You have to have transformation. You have to have that oneness connected. You have to have you have to at least get some knowledge or some wisdom behind author's consciousness. What is he exactly trying to do? It is not intellectual understanding, it is a deeper understanding, aligned with the principles of what his message is all about, what he is trying to do, right? Without that, we are only gonna be, this is gonna be more a mental chatting. So the intention is the most important thing. When you are starting a book club, what is the intention? The intention should always be from reading to realization. When the traditional book clubs, if you look at it, their focus is about learning or discussion. When you look at the book clubs for meditative or satsang based book clubs, their focus is not about learning and discussion. Their focus is on inner experience, and then that awakening aspect of it. The true intent is that awakening aspect of it. If I try to finish the book, right, then you're not with the flow. The intent is never to finish the book, but let that book become you. Dissolve that ego and awaken your inner wisdom through that understanding. This is very, very important. That's why doing a satsang, a book satsang is more effective, and profoundly it will impact all the participants than doing a book club as a traditional book club. How many times we center in silence, right? In the regular traditional book club, there is no silence, right? We talked earlier. There is no opportunity for you to meditate in between. You are not aware of your breath. There is no opportunity of aligning or invoking your author's energy in there, inviting the consciousness in the group, in the group field. Nothing like that happens, right? But in reality, when you are looking at a book and you are trying to observe that book, or become that inner awareness, awaken that inner awareness, you have to create that energetic space. It's very, very important. Where my understanding is not intellectual, it is more intuitional. It has to come from the bottom of my heart, right? So if I have to read a book, I just don't read the book, just like that, right? I meditate on the book for a few minutes. I connect to that book's wisdom. I awaken myself, or I allow myself, and then start to connect and then read the book. Reading in the awareness is most important. So when you're reading, you're not reading a para, you're reading a line or a insight or something that, even for a para, right? If you're reading it, after every key passage, it's a pause of silence. Let the energy settle in. And we allow that inner reflection about what has been given in that line or in that para, what vibration it is carrying. That, that very words, the words are vibrations, right? Expressions. How does it shift my current state of being? So that allows, those things will allow you to have, it's a group observing the consciousness, right? Not merely exchange of your mental thoughts, or exchange of emotions or exchange of ideas or opinions. It's no longer in that space. You are in the deeper level where you are exchanging the consciousness at that space. It's very, very important, right? I have to, when I'm sitting in a meditative, satsang, book clubs, I'm 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 supposed to share my experience, not my opinions, right? If I am trying to not share my experience and I'm just sharing my opinion, this is what I meant, this is what you did, this is what I felt, what do you think? There is no inner shift at that point. It's only, just the outer judgment of everything, because you said this, I'm going to say this. We need to have that energy exchange. It is a must. Whenever you're going to a book club or you're organizing book club, it is very important that there is the shift of energies, exchange of energy, that has to happen. You feel it through your inner experience and you share. When you feel it with your inner experience and you share it, then there is an exchange of energy. The words that you're expressing at that point, they are energy. There is a vibration in that words, and those vibrations reflect to everyone who is in the group. They all get that. So it is not about conducting a meditation club, right? It is not about conducting a meditative book club. It is about knowing that what should be the outcome of the real book club, right? It is about trying to not just understand intellectually, but intuitionally have that connection within you. Every book has got that inner practice that will help you. There will always be some things that you take home, right? And you want to become that. Each session that you do will have one practical or one meditative practice derived through that book, right? Whatever that is. That ground learning has to come into our life. That's very, very important. If I'm reading Autobiography of a Yogi and I'm saying that, okay, I'm going to practice my inner listening during the day, how it is going to reflect, right? In couple of days, you will experience a shift coming in your way. right? How do I, if I'm reading Power of Now, how do I pause every now and then, every few hours to observe my inner silence? That's what Power of Now is, right? Eckhart Tolle talked about this concept of observing your inner silence every now and then. So every few hours, how do I observe it? How do I integrate and practice the learning, the art of whatever I'm experiencing through my own intuition, and becoming that? That is very, very important. And group alignment is also very, very important. You have to sit symmetrically, especially if you're doing it in a physical space, sitting in a circle, or a pyramid form, or some kind of square, symmetric form, geometry wise will help, because it will align the energies uniformly. Crystals having a pyramid in center, amplifying your vibrations and channel higher frequencies for you to have a greater understanding of what you're trying to become. All these are very, very important for us to get there. So without some of these things bringing into that concept of how you meditate or how you do clubs and all, just going and being part of the clubs is just a joke, right? That's why if you look at it, real masters, they never ask you to go into clubs. Even Patri sir never said go to book clubs, right? He probably would have said, yeah, read books and all that, but at your own pace and try to have understanding. He always referred that, hey, read this book. This is a good book. This is a good book. This is a good book, right? And that reflection, whatever you did, like you have a book club for 30 minutes, you went in, you did that. And as you close out that session, we have to sit in silence. We have to meditate for a few minutes before you leave. Feel the gratitude towards that author, towards that book, towards that group, towards the energy, that consciousness, that vibration or frequency. It's very, very important. The gratitude is most important thing. And when I am connected to the truth, I don't go read about subjective knowledge. I want knowledge that I can experience. I become that, right? It has to primate that wisdom, right? That allowing that wisdom has to primate within me organically. It is not like I'm just taking it, I'm sitting every day, I'm coming, I'm getting something, I'm leaving, I'm coming, leaving, coming, leaving. No. And the most important is, after we are out of the book club, it's always good to have a journaling, reflecting journaling of each satsang, right? Each opportunity where you have connected togetherness, what are the things that you have? That is how you will have your own personal transformation. Otherwise, this becomes a mental exercise. That's pretty much it. So the one that we are looking at in the context of truth is about a meditative satsang, a meditative book satsang, something like which can give you that experience, which can connect you energetically, focuses on our own inner transformation. You are reading in absolute awareness. We are connected to the author's very consciousness, and it becomes, at that point, if we have some of these things together, then you are in a spiritual communion. You are no longer exchanging ideas or opinions. You're in a spiritual communion. That's very, very important. That's when growth happens. Transformation happens through that. Otherwise, it becomes a discussion based. It is more a mental, analytical aspect. You focus on intellectual capability rather than intuitional capability. We read very quickly to finish on time. We talk about the author's greatness, not about the connection with the consciousness. And we are more focused on the exchanging viewpoints rather than coming into that communion aspect of it. So the more and more we reflect, when I bring truth into this conversation, I have to shift my space. I have to shift the way I do it. Right? I may be a very good reader when I do it, but when you are coming into this satsang, meditative group satsang, you're not reading for sake of reading. You're reading to become that. Right? So what happens? You have to maintain your energy at a deeper pace. Less talking, more being. It has to reflect that. You have to encourage, if you are the one who is reading it, then you have to encourage the participants to have that realization after the session. They have to reflect on the essence of the session. Absolutely no distractions whatsoever doing that half an hour session. Right? So all these things will help us to understand. I'm not here to just read the book, or I'm not here to just complete the book to say that it's a check mark, right? We are all here to grow. We are all here to become. That's the purpose. The purpose of this club is to get you there. How can I get there when I'm just mentally chanting, mentally, exercising? So in nowadays, right? I mean, whenever we are looking at it, right? Whether you are seeing the book, that's why you have to talk about the essence of the book. You have to talk about the inspiration behind it, or the motivation, why author took this subject, what he went through in his life to get there. Like, for example, there is a good saying, right? Autobiography of a yogi, that is 70 years of Paramahamsa Yogananda's life. He gave you that 70 years in a 250 or 300 page book. So if I am reading that book, 300 pages, I know a man who experienced 70 years. I'm able to experience in that very short time. How is that possible? It is not possible when you are reading it. It is only possible when you are experiencing it. So that vibrational shift has to happen. Any questions? So connected to the group that can provide that exchange, and that should be a spiritual communion. You're not there to pass time, or you're not there to inspire yourself to the author. We are not here to get a name for ourselves, or we are not here to connect to the name of others. We are here to go into the deeper pace, maintain the energy at a deeper pace. That's the focus. When that needs to happen, then you cannot be looking at the surface. You have to go to the depth of it. And that's why instead of doing traditional book clubs, whenever we do any exchange, it has to be a meditational book satsang. You have to meditate before and at the closing. Before you start the book, meditate. At the close, meditate and show gratitude, and then journal it later. That way, every day's progress, you are able to absorb within you to become what you are looking for. How many of you have attended book clubs? No one? Interesting. How many of you led book clubs? Everyone is silent. All right, no questions then? Any comments?
Yeah. No question.
Nobody's talking, so I had to say something.
No. Yeah, but so first of all, thank you so much for basically, giving us this knowledge, because for me, it was, like the traditional book club. I haven't part of a book club, but generally I read book. I don't meditate before or after. Sometimes I just listen to the book when I am driving. Uh, so sometimes you feel connected, but I see what you are saying. Like if you meditate, you will basically start not reading the book, but you start experiencing the book. And that part was, I think, missing. So after today's session, I will start, um, applying all that what you suggested us, like before and after meditation and journaling as well. So thank you so much for this insight.
Thank you, madam.
Master, this applies not only just to the books, right? Like, for example, if you're listening to some spiritual discussion or anything, so we can apply this as well, correct? Like, I mean, kind of how to get it most out of what we are listening to.
See, whatever you're listening to, you have to feel it, right?
Mm,
That's when you become that. But sometimes what happens is you also have distractions when you're listening, which is a common thing.
mm,
Like, madam was saying that, I listen when I'm driving, right? So obviously you will be distracted a little bit. So you try to bring it back again. So it's okay for you to listen. It's not like, hey, don't listen and all, right? But you have to understand, or you have to know that listening, whatever you are doing, you're doing it with a distraction, right? The very fact that you're driving and listening, you're multitasking, right? Multitasking is not something that will yield productive results. So you may have to listen to that again and again. Only when you have a full attention, wherever your attention goes, your energy goes, right? When you have that full attention to that particular subject, what you're listening to, then you will become that, because then the feeling comes in play, right?
yeah.
Otherwise you're distracted.
Yeah.
So whatever you're saying is like Shravana, Manana, and Nidhyadhyasa. I think that's what you said.
Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, Sakshatkara.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shravana means listening,
Listening.
but not in a distracted way,
Mm-hmm.
with a very focused way. Listening, very focused, attentive, right? Fully attentive and listening, that is Shravana,
Mm-hmm.
right? Manana means you are you are actually going and practicing whatever you have read and trying to become that, right? I mean, you're trying to reiterate yourself and you will get questions. When you do Manan, you will start questioning. You will inquire.
Reflecting.
Yeah, reflecting, and you will inquire about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you will get questions, you will have doubts and all, right? Then you clarify that. Then you, when the clarification comes, is when the contemplation, which is the third one, nididhyasana.
Mm-hmm.
Nididhyasa happens. When nididhyasa happens, you become that.
Become
That
that.
is sakshatkar.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are in a book club, your ability to become that is the idea of that very book club.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you there is you're exchanging not the views, right? You're exchanging energy, you're exchanging your inner experience.
And
All that
different
has to happen.
different perspectives. You know, everybody
Yeah.
is different how they
Yeah.
interpret. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the subjects will have different,
Interpretations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so you'll have to understand, in a different angle, right? How this can be looked upon this way to, or this way to, that way to.
Mm-hmm.
You're broadening your expression of, understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is, but that understanding has to resonate within you. It has to sink into you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we, when we do that meditative, book satsangs, it is not just reading. The reading aspect is very small, very small. You only probably are reading one page, but reflecting on that, vibrating at that frequency, and trying to connect to that conscious, that is the most important thing. That is where the shift is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to complete the book for sake of completing it, right? You might as well say, I'm just gonna. That's why talking the essence is more important than going through the page by page.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right. No questions, then let's call it a night. We will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we have one session, and then in the evening we are meeting for satsang. If you are locally in the Virginia and DC or Maryland area, please do join us. Some beautiful satsang we'll do in the evening, and then we'll catch up. All right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.